Hello, guys, and welcome to another MSC Performance Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 5 with me, Mark Coulson, and Luke Rogers. Welcome to another episode, the first one that me and Luke have done together for a while.
Yeah, it's been about a month.
How we doing?
Yeah, good. Things are good. Getting back into the swing of things. Post World, post holiday. So yeah, things are good. How about you?
Yeah, very well. I think it's been a good couple of months at MSC. I think we'll give our listeners a bit of an update, shortly, but it might be worth just dropping in what's coming up at MSC to begin with. We've got obviously a couple of socials coming up, big events, starting with the Halloween.
Yeah, we've got a Halloween Metcon, and then we've got a Halloween social on the evening, which will be pretty cool. Fancy dress. I've got something planned, which I'm pretty excited about. So, should be a good one. The Metcon should be good fun as well.
Coming as a sexy cat.
It's either that or a slutty witch.
Slutty witch?
Slutty witch. One or the other.
Okay. That's Halloween, and then we've also got Christmas events coming up as well. We're still to just confirm the date of that, but I think we're looking at the 4th of December at the moment.
Christmas party, and rumour has it a Christmas-themed deadlift party as well. So deadlift max out, either trap bar or conventional. Potentially prizes for the best fancy dress as well. So all to play for. So good. It's a good couple of months winter. It's
Absolutely. It's it's a time of year I think where obviously the mornings get a bit darker and things get a little bit colder and whatnot. But it's important to keep the spirits up and keep that social side of things up. Is really important. Keep the morale of the troops nice and high. Might be worth the viewers probably haven't heard from you for a few weeks, mate. What's been going on?
Well, I've been trying to go off
the update.
I've been trying to go off the radar. So obviously I had World Championships, which unfortunately didn't quite go as I wanted it to. But as is sports at the time, I was a little bit disappointed. Just performance was massively down from what I was expecting. I'd gone into it knowing it was going to be a tough competition, and things just weren't set up to be the best competition I'd ever had. It was really tough over there. There was a few things that were out of my control that made it a little bit harder. But overall, just went into it not in the best shape, and it was just a difficult competition. And overall, it's just been a tough year, as has it been for everyone. But a couple of little niggly injuries, which I think just limited training, and then had COVID 6 weeks out, and just lots of things that just weren't ideal. But I'm really happy to have done the championships. Very proud to have got there, and if anything, it's just made me feel super motivated now to get back into training and just tighten up a couple of things. Like I said, there was a few things out of my control, but there was a lot of it that I could maybe do better. And in hindsight, I could probably push things a little bit harder. So there's a few things now that I've changed moving forward, which I'm super excited about. Started working with a coach, which I'm really excited about. Started being a bit tight with my nutrition for now until obviously party season. But overall feeling good and feeling motivated and looking forward to pushing back on and just drawing a line under what was a very tough season powerlifting wise. But like I said, as is sport, and we go again. Looking forward to correcting what we can do. So
what are the sort of main learnings do you think from the comp? Anything in particular?
I was trying to force a prep that wasn't there, and if it was any other competition, I'd have pulled out. Because it was the Worlds, I really wanted to do it. I thought it might be one of the very few chances I get to do the World Championships. So I had to do it. But if it was any other competition, I would have probably pulled out. So just not forcing numbers that aren't quite there. I was hitting I squatted 222 for triple in training, and then at the champs I got 215. Just my body felt terrible. And in hindsight, it was probably from trying to push things a little bit too much. And then even when we eased back with the taper week, probably really just wasn't enough. So I think the big takeaway is just to listen and just assess how things are, and just be a bit realistic with your training, and make sure that what you're doing is in line with what you're programming, and don't just chase the numbers for the sake of it, which we know we always tell everyone to do so, but
it's hard to do, isn't it, when it's when it's a major comp and
absolutely.
One of the big comps that you'll do to say, right, I'm not going to hit my best. So let's just train around.
And it's funny because
that's hard, isn't it?
I knew I wasn't going to beat my best, and it was just way worse. I thought my best ever taught 685. I was thinking around 640, 650. I got 602, so it was just massively down. So I knew it was going to be down, but I should have definitely tailed it back a little bit more. Like I said, I think sometimes my my stuff in my nutrition could be a little bit better. I think I just got slightly looser with it when I should have been tighter. And half of that was that I didn't know the Worlds was definitely happening until I think it was a couple of months out. So definitely could do that better. Definitely could try and train with a bit more intense. I think I was training hard, but probably could be a bit more intentful when I'm actually in the session. So there's definitely things I can work on. And like I said, hiring a coach, and I think having someone there was helping me make the decisions, helping me choose the right weight on the bar, alongside obviously myself just trying to make better decisions and having periods of time where I'm not questioning things. So I'm saying to you, this first block of training, I've got trap bar deadlifting, and if it was myself, after a couple of weeks, I'd probably start second guessing, even though I know it's a good thing, just start to think, can I actually do normal deadlift now? Is now the right time? So just having that there as some kind of support system, and not keep questioning what I'm doing, and just having the belief, I think it's going to be massive. So I'm really excited, actually. I think it's going to be great. So
that's quality. With the nutritional side of things, like you say, you're keeping it a little bit tighter. Obviously, with sports like powerlifting and sports like boxing and MMA and things like that, obviously weight categorized sports, but they tend to have not big off seasons, but big periods between competitions, as opposed to football or rugby. How loose is too loose with the nutrition? Because I've always, for years, I've seen boxers, MMAs do these absolutely diabolical weight cuts and just go too loose off season, and there's got to be a happy medium, a happy balance where psychologically you can let things go a little bit, you can enjoy yourself, because counting calories and macros all year round can be a bit, get a bit tedious, and and whatever sport it is, you hit that kind of major high of a competition and that major peak, there's got to be a back off afterwards, I think, mentally. So yeah, how loose do you think you were, and how much do you want to tighten that up, and what do you think's the right?
Sure.
Difficult one to answer.
No. It's actually, exactly what you've just said is in the past, everyone would be super loose with their nutrition, for competition. The Ricky Hatton, Gain 4 star and then have to lose it. But
hard work.
The sports nutrition has moved on so much now. And it's if you were trying to decide what is the most optimal to support your training, it's to be in a surplus. And it doesn't have to be a massive surplus. It could be a 50 calorie surplus, or just not losing weight. And especially when you talk about your hardest training, what's going to support recovery, what's going to support the training the best. And it's been in a very, very small surplus. Obviously, you can't be in a surplus the whole time with powerlifting, otherwise you just be going at weight categories. But I think if you took out the life component and you took out actual trying to enjoy yourself, you would be at weight, or trying to lose weight, get to weight during the off season, and then when you get into your competition prep and the training's getting harder and everything's starting to increase in intensity to support the increase in demands, that's when you would be in the small surplus. So actually now is probably the time to try and lose the weight.
It's keep discipline, because you're not training at your highest intensity or your highest volume at the moment. I would have thought
I'm very much in a transitional phase.
So why do you need a 500,000 calorie surplus a day? It's actually that's really interesting, actually, because I think, you say, I think post comp, post season, things like that, I think it's probably a case of giving yourself a week or a few days or whatever to let loose a little bit. There's only so much weight you're going to put on in a week. And then it's actually a case of probably being quite disciplined in that time. And I'm trying to think of this as well from my point of view with rugby. You finish that season, long hard season, have your blowout, but make sure it's a week, for example, and then actually when we come back, okay, the off season may be a bit shorter than it would be in powerlifting, but there's still that rebuilding phase. You're not going straight in at loads of volume and loads of intensity. So during that period is actually the time, as you say, to be disciplined, because you don't need the surplus. Save the surplus for when you're actually starting to really build that
that's it. And
volume and intensity.
anecdotally the best like my training and competition ever was like, you know, for the British a couple of years back, and I was at weight for ages. I stayed at weight from a comp that I did in June, then the last comp was the end of August, and I stayed at weight, and then I was just at maintenance the whole time, and training was fantastic. So it just takes more discipline. So like people enjoy the blow, but actually when you add up how much time you're actually dieting for powerlifting, most people aren't dieting for that long. If you look at the research done on powerlifting and they compare it to like bodybuilding nutrition of like how much time people actually spend in a diet, it's actually not that much. A lot of it is like manipulated, your water, your gut, etc. But you actually, like, you might spend like, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks dieting, but then people have like these mad 3 months off season. Yeah, it just doesn't add up. So it takes a little bit more discipline. There has to be the lifestyle component in there as well. You have to enjoy yourself. So it doesn't have to be like super rigid, super strict. You're not bodybuilding. You're not judged on your aesthetic, but there has to be, you just want to try and stay at weight during that time. So that when the training starts to ramp up again, which I presume will be in a couple of months, I'll already be at weight and I can get into a very small surplus, and that will support the training well. So it takes more discipline, but I think that's definitely the way that the nutrition has definitely started to trend in strength sports and weight class sports. And it does make a lot of sense. It's just harder.
Yeah.
But if you want to be, if you want to maximize it, that's what you have to do. So yeah.
Absolutely. Whilst we're talking about nutrition, and you say still being able to enjoy yourself, shall we move into our kind of festive kind of chat we had?
Party season.
So the main topic of the podcast, I mean, we love having a good old catch up as well, and cover some really good stuff there. But one of the things we want to talk about today is around, we're coming. I mean, we're only October, but we're coming a little bit closer now towards the festive season. Like a lot of Christmas parties start, in November, and we know December's a tough month, is an enjoyable month in the social side of things, but training and weight gain and things like that, can be a little bit tricky. So that's kind of one of the things we want to talk about today, is how you can still enjoy yourself through this period. Whilst maintaining, strength levels and maintaining, a good weight and things like that. And I think like one of the main things to talk about at the beginning is probably, the importance of being realistic and setting, realistic and sustainable goals around this period. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Because straight away, you say to someone December, and they're a lot, the old school, when you talk about things being outdated, people would say, December's a write-off. And absolutely, you're not going to make the most amount of progress probably in your training that you're ever going to make, and you're not going to make the best goals in terms of supporting a weight loss or weight gain. Well, if you had a weight gain target, it's a little bit easier for sure, but if you had a goal of gaining a certain amount of muscle, it's definitely a lot harder in December. However, it doesn't have to be a complete write-off. We just have to be a bit more realistic and a bit more, with our goals, trying to make them a little bit more attainable. If you have like a weight loss goal or a fat loss goal, you might not be able to continue losing 0.5% of your body weight a week. You might have to be slightly more realistic and say, because the couple of days in Christmas, couple of parties, actually aiming to maintain your weight and to finish the Christmas period at the same weight that you start in December might be a massive win. If you compare it to what you might normally do, where you might write off December completely, not train, just go out, eat what you want. If you finish the month, the hardest month of the year for everyone, if you finish it at the same way or just a bit more realistic with your fat loss target, I think that's a massive win. And sometimes maintaining can actually be a massive win. And sometimes people think if they're just at maintenance or the strength levels are the same, it's a negative thing, but sometimes it's a massive positive. When you add up how tough everything is, there's parties, if you're in an office, there's cakes and everything every other day, quality street. It's a super difficult time to try and be in a fat loss target.
It's looking more like, you've got the short term of December almost as in the micro, and then the macro of like the 12 months, for example, is like, December, if we maintain, like we can still have, if the goal is weight loss, for example, we can still have a massively effective 12-month period, and if we just accept that like December's a trickier month, like, pretty much everyone's going to be eating, like say, the sweets in the office, the Christmas parties, the alcohol consumption, the food on Christmas Day and around, Christmas week.
And you absolutely
just be realistic.
And you absolutely should go and enjoy it.
I think one of the big, I'm going off piece here, but like one of my biggest like bugbears is like, you know, when you go to like pies and things like that around Christmas, and it's like
PT.
they know you're a PT or whatever, and it's like, oh, I should be eating this, should I? And it's like Jesus.
What I like about that is when you shouldn't be doing that, and you're pissed eating a pizza at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
And it's like we don't. That's not how we live.
It's that old mentality that you're a PT, so you on the bodybuilder diet.
Yeah,
and so we absolutely, especially after the fucking year we had, and after last year, Christmas getting pretty much cancelled.
I nearly bought a Rocky Road up there, Lou, when we went for a coffee. That was close.
That's really bad. But you should absolutely look to enjoy yourself, and you shouldn't be restricted. You should enjoy time with your family, your friends, because we didn't have it last year. So a lot of people won't be taking it for granted. So absolutely enjoy yourself, but just zoom out and think about think about the days that you can control versus the days that you can't, and maybe just start to plan that in terms of a weekly basis rather than looking at the daily. So you might say, okay, I've got a Christmas party on the Friday and I'm meeting my family on the Sunday. Those 2 days are going to be a little bit tougher, but that's still another 5 days of the week where you can probably be a little bit more controlled and try and make the nutrition a bit more normal and try and continue with what meals you normally would have. And don't write the whole week off because you've got 2 bad days. And actually there, you're just limiting the amount of exposure you have to these days, what are going to go against what your goals are. If it is weight loss or muscle gain, you've still got 5 good days to work towards your goal. Sure. You're just not writing the whole week off for those 2 bad days.
Yeah. I think like a key message for people is, like you said, like enjoy yourself. Like enjoy yourself. I think people think because we're PTs or strength coaches, like we work in the gym and stuff like that, it's, you know, we're absolute noses over, you know, going out on Christmas parties and things like that. And that's like, that's not what we're about at all. Yeah. And then like, as you say, I think a good tip for that Christmas period is, like you say, kind of, you know, looking at the, you know, if you think about what ideally you want your average calorie consumption to be, then look at a kind of weekly average rather than a daily. Mm-hmm. So let's say you're in like the first week of December and you're like, oh shit, like, you know, on the Monday night we've got, you know, a work meal where, you know, we're going out for pizza or whatever and a couple of drinks. And on the Thursday night, I've got the big Christmas party. Okay, that's fine. Like, go and enjoy yourself. Like, don't go into the, you know, pizza restaurant and not have a pizza.
Have a salad.
Have a salad. Like, enjoy yourself. And then you say, right, you accept that that's a higher calorie day. Like if your maintenance is say 3,000 calories a day, if you have 5,000 calories on the Monday night, you're not going to suddenly just put on 2 pounds of fat. Like it doesn't really work like that. So what you could say is, right, okay, I'm going to hit 5,000 on that day, but on the Tuesday and, you know, Wednesday, for example, I'm going to hit 3,000, and I'm going to go higher again on the Thursday, and then I haven't got that much on the weekend. I can cut back a little bit, or, you know, whatever way you want to work it around. Look at your kind of
weekly average rather than your daily.
Look at your weekly average rather than your daily average. So have a look at the events you've got on, and then go from there. Because like, there's no point, you know, if you're going to go to that Christmas party or whatever, like, you want to enjoy yourself. You don't want to be holding back, you know, on having a drink because you're worried about the calories. So just, you know, be a little bit sensible, you know, in terms of the other days, like when you have got those down days, like that's maybe where you do avoid going into the sweet jar at work or whatever it is. And another thing as well is like, is your activity levels. So like, if you know it's going to be a bit of a higher calorie week and you're like, shit, I'm just not going to be able to keep it to that daily average. It's going to be really, really hard. I've got 5 things on this week I've got to go to. Just try and increase your activity levels to combat that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Get your step count up. And that can still be involved with the social part of like meeting your friends, meeting your family. You could go out for a little walk before you go for like a big meal. You could walk to the venue where you're going for your social. Like there's lots of ways of increasing your activity. And actually when people have a couple of weeks off from work, if you don't really have that much of a high step count normally, you might actually increase your activity over the time. And that can definitely offset some of the damage, I should say, off from the Christmas week. So you can easily increase your activity just to make yourself feel a little bit better as well. Like if you feel a little bit groggy from the week of just eating bad, like increasing activity can make you feel a little bit better, and it can definitely offset some of the additional calories that you're going to consume as well. So yeah, increasing activity is a super easy one. And I actually so on Christmas Day I'll eat whatever I want. But I really enjoy the in the morning going for a little bit of a walk first, because you're sitting down all day watching crap TV. I go for a little bit of walk before I get to my mum's house. And I always feel better for it. And it's nothing crazy. It's just like a very leisurely walk. Normally I've like liquors or something.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel good, and it's nice to get some fresh air.
Yes, absolutely.
But, yeah, increasing the step count is a super easy one, especially again, like if you're not going to be making it to the gym quite as frequently. If you can keep your step count up outside of the gym, that's definitely going to help support your goals as best as possible in December.
It's huge. I think like if you're say back home with family for a week, for example, like I went back home on the weekend, and it was obviously a lot of family time, and so it was a lot of just indoors and catching up, and then we're going to go out for a walk, and it's pouring down with rain all weekend, so we just didn't really do it. But like my step count was like 2,500 on the Saturday, and just under 2,000 on the Sunday, which is like just ridiculous. But it's that kind of just what I was thinking at the time was like, shit, I bet I've had Christmas weeks like that before, where that's been a week. That's been 7 days of like 2,000 steps a day. And then when you're eating what you're eating, that's the danger. That's when you can put on weight. That's when you can feel bad. Like I came back on Monday, and I was training Monday, and I was like, my knees were sore. I was lunging. I was like feeling stiff. I was feeling lethargic. And it's like, because I've not done anything all weekend. So like, if you go home and like have a week where like, by all means, like increase your calories, like, embrace that. But like, if you're not backing that up with a simple thing of just going for a daily walk, like, I'm trying to think back to like, I've had Christmases like that, and it's like, oh man, that's not a nice feeling. That's not a nice feeling at all. And like, you all of a sudden you're consuming, God knows, 5,000-6,000 calories a day, and like you're doing 1,000 steps, and it's like,
your expenditure's down low. That's where you can put
2-3 pounds like on, in a week quite easily. And then also it's the after effect of that. Like I've just said, like, going, having 2 lazy days at the weekend, and I felt bad on the Monday training, like I felt terrible. So you imagine having a week or 2 weeks of that, or a max half a month, like that's where, imagine trying to come back in January rather than hitting the ground running. Yeah, you're in an absolute pickle, and you're trying to get yourself back to normal, and then it's February before you know it, and you've lost another month of training progress.
Yeah. So I think the big takeaway of the nutrition is just zoom out just a touch, and then under the realization that one day is not, like you talked about balancing out your calories. Absolutely, like for the weeks in December, but that Christmas week, I would just write off 1 or 2 days, and then just try and get back to your normal system after there. Because if you try and balance out a Christmas day, which I don't know what other people's is like, but if I had to put a number on it, I'd guess 6,000, 7,000. The deficit you'd have to put on it. Yeah. So just have a day and write it off, and that one day is not going to override the month of maintenance or the year of really good progress. Absolutely.
So think your yearly average might be 3,000 calories. Yeah. Like one day is not going to move that average.
Absolutely. So
very much at all.
Yeah.
So like, don't feel guilty about having a day or two, dare I say, a week.
Well, even if you had a week, if you had a week of eating what you wanted, but you kept your activity up, you felt good going back into the gym the week after. Yeah. Fantastic. No, otherwise, if you try and control the days that you can do where you maybe not meeting family or days in between parties, and then you just write off 1 or 2 days and you're aiming to maintain the other, then you're going to have a great time, you're going to enjoy yourself, and you're not going to have any kind of massive regression from what your overall goal is for the year. So I think our takeaway is zoom out, enjoy yourself when you can, control the days that you can do, try and keep your activity high.
Probably don't take the piss with it as well. Like I think late November, first week of December, like try your best to keep it normal. Like, and if you are having that that Christmas party first week of December, then that's okay. But like,
and that's when you can control the rest of the week, isn't it? If you're going for one party compared to having a week at your family, if you're having that one party, the rest of the week you can adjust.
Exactly.
It's when you start to write off the whole of December that it becomes a little bit problematic, and you've got to then say you're going to have a massive regression. But the first week of December, if you've got one party, like we've got ours on the 4th, you can easily control the rest of the variables that week to hit your goals. So if your goals are important to yourself, then you can absolutely control other variables to make sure you're working towards them.
Yeah. think that's the key, isn't it? Like, yeah, and like you say, like around Christmas week, and just go out for a walk, just real steady walk. Half an hour, get those steps in.
Fantastic.
Trying to counterbalance it.
What about so we've talked about mainly from fat loss, because from a weight gain perspective, it's very easy. But what about for training? What are your thoughts on training on Christmas week? I guess it's similar to nutrition, where you're talking about realistic expectations.
Realistic expectations, absolutely. Like for me personally, with rugby, like we normally have a 2-week break in December. Like last game's normally around 17th, 18th. Then obviously you have Christmas week off, and then we're normally back first week of Jan. So with that, it's actually a decent time to train. Really, you can actually get some extras in, but with no games to recover from or training during the week at rugby. But at the same time, you have to consider the social aspects that are going on and things like that. So like for me personally, I can normally keep like decent training levels up, and what I can do is just spread that over the week a little bit more, just real flexible. Christmas week itself, I normally try and like just plan it so I can have a bit of a deload over Christmas week. And if I'm not having a deload and I want to push through and train pretty hard, what I'll do is I'll just reduce my frequency for that week. So rather than like doing 4 sessions a week in the gym, I'll do 2.
Okay.
And what I'll try and do is just up the volume a little bit in those sessions, so that it kind of makes up for the slight lack of frequency. Because for me, like as much as I love the gym and love training, like Christmas week I don't really want to be in all the time. That's me personally. Like some people would like to, but also as much as possible.
Absolutely, you see a lot of people that actually increase their training over Christmas week. But let's say you're going away, the gym's closed for a few days. The takeaway from this is going to be reduce. If you have to reduce your training frequency down, just make sure those 1 or 2 sessions that you make, you're trying to increase the volume to take for that. But also what's nice is that the last year we've dealt with not having gym access. So we know how to train around it, and we know how fast people come back from it. And we know like there's been so much research on like the minimum amount of training you can do to maintain. And we know it's super low. So if you're only training once or twice, but you're doing like a very good session, then you're going to do more than to maintain.
100%.
I think, remember the studies we talked about over COVID, that it was like, you could drop your volume by 90% and still maintain your strength levels, not your muscle size, but your strength levels. So that means if you're only doing 10 sets a week of squat, 1 squat is enough to maintain it. So let's say you go from doing 12 sets a week of squat to training twice, and you do 2 sets. 2 days, and you do 2 sets each day. That's 4. That's a drop to 30% of your normal volume, but that's more than enough to maintain. So during that week while you can't get in as many times, if you can keep the frequency to 1 or 2 sessions and still hit that minimum dosage, you're doing more than enough to maintain and actually maybe still make a little bit of progress, especially when you take into account most people's stress is a little bit less during the holiday period, depending on what the in-laws are like. But the stress from work is down. So actually might make better progress that week with the reduced volume.
I've always felt like really good after Christmas. Like I've always come back hitting the ground running in January.
You mean all that rest and that calorie surplus?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's funny,
that.
It's funny. Yeah. But like my frequency is always real low. Like I don't think I've ever trained Christmas week more than twice in the week. So like if I'm going home, for example, like obviously want to spend time with the family, and out in the countryside is about 30 miles to the nearest gym. So like I'll normally do my last session here on like the 22nd, 23rd.
You normally have holiday from the 15th.
I normally have a few weeks off. So like last session here might be like 22nd, 23rd, and then I'll do like 1 session on the 28th, maybe 1 on the 30th or 31st or something like that, and then I'm back here and ready to go. So like I always and as well, it works quite nicely for me personally, because I'm in like out in the sticks, I'm in a different gym, and I'm like quite happy to spend a couple of hours there and have like when I'm there like have a good session, try some new stuff, and like I always try and maintain like a bit of speed, bit of strength work, and then just smash out some volume and just work hard and enjoy it a bit. Sometimes get a bit off piece. It's
funny that, because I'm literally the complete opposite. So because I don't know if you can tell from my accent, but I'm from Wolverhampton. So my family's really close. So I've actually got the opposite, where I'm still training like 4 times a week, but I want to be in and out as quick as I can. So I actually still keep the frequency the same. And that's going to be the same for a lot of people, where they'll still want to train 3 times. It might be feel better for going into the gym when you're sitting around all day. But I want to get those sessions done fairly fast, so I can get back to enjoying some time, some extra free time. So I'm doing the same frequency, but I'm dropping down the working sets quite significantly. Back to what I just said about like the minimum dosages to maintain. So I'm probably halving my volume, almost like a deload week. If I can't time it to be a deload week, I'll maintain the intensity. I'll drop that volume down. So I'm doing everything with good intent, but I'm able to get in and out a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And then stuff like the accessory work, which in terms of like priority of my training is quite low. I'll probably either drop it right down or do everything as like a really big giant set, just so it's like saving time. Because there's so much you can do from the time saving component. You can drop the volume down, but you can also do things as a giant set. You can time your rest periods and be a bit more mindful in the gym. So if you wanted to train the same amount of times, but you wanted to be in and out a little bit quicker, definitely time your rest periods, so you're not taking 5-6 minutes in between sets. You could drop your volume down a touch so that you're doing a little bit less, but still more than enough to maintain and maybe make a little bit of progress. So you've got 2 great strategies there to maintain your training.
It's interesting, yeah, and it's like
they're both achieving the same thing.
Yeah, 100%.
We're still doing the same amount of work.
Yeah, it's good. As I said, like for that little period for me, it's like actually, off rugby, so it's like, oh, can you push a bit harder? But realistically, normally, like I just try and maintain, because it's Christmas season, and I mean, obviously been injured at the moment, but like if I've played a full September, October, November, December, it's quite nice to actually just chill a little bit. But so like normally I've had a couple of Christmases where like I've actually tried to push on a little bit more, and I've actually done more volume, even if it's 2 sessions a week. I've had 2 monster sessions, and actually had slightly more volume than I have. But normally it's about the same, if not a little bit less. Which isn't a massive deal. But I'll go twice in the week, and say to folks, right, we'll be in the gym in the morning, and like we'll drive 3 hours to find the nearest gym, and then we'll have a good 2-hour session. I'm like my average training session's like an hour, like an hour and a half at most, and a lot of the time I try and get done in 45 minutes on like my Thursday session or Friday session. So like, my training sessions aren't as long as yours, but like in those weeks I'll be like, fuck it, we'll have a couple of hours, and I'll build up to something heavy, do my speed work, and then it's like, right, let's do enough volume to combat that, the fact that I'm not really training the rest of the week. And I've had it before where I've done 1 session, like during a Christmas week. I always try for 2, but even if it's 1, it's like, well, do you know what, that's a hell of a lot better than nothing. And if I'm having a good solid 2-hour session where, going hard and like, doing a shit ton of volume, it's actually like, I'm maybe only 15-20% down on the overall normal week. Which is not the. It's a nice little deload.
You're not losing anything. You look at the research to maintain compared to trying to progress. The difference, like to maintain, like we said, you need such a lot of volume that you're more than doing enough to maintain.
I do bugger all volume on a Thursday or Friday anyway. If I'm my third session during the week is normally a Thursday or Friday. Normally Thursday, because I tend to do a lot of steps on a Friday through work and stuff, so I don't like to train on top of that. But so I normally do my last session on a Thursday. And like it's real low volume anyway, so like missing that session and like making up for it, training once or maybe twice during a Christmas week, I'm actually like, I don't think I've ever really gone less than like 20% less volume than normal, which is a nice little deload.
There you go,
and you're good to go.
So you've got 2 strategies there. I think either if you're going to keep the training frequency, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, but just try and ease back on the accessory work. Like I said, time your rest periods, half your volume down so you're doing enough to maintain, or reduce your frequency down and make them a little bit more kind of, what would you say, a bit more voluminous. Try and make them a bit more substantial. So you can either those strategies will work for everyone. So everyone can get at least 1 session in. Just got to maybe add a little bit more volume to it. 2 is fantastic, because I think 2 as well, because hand in hand with the research where like you're aiming to hit, if you've got a muscle gaining target, you're aiming to hit each muscle group once or twice a week. So the 2 times a week covers everything. Covers every base. Yeah. So there you go. 2 big sessions or 4 small sessions, get in and out.
Very lovely.
Fantastic. I think that covers everything in terms of the training. I think so.
Is that a new snood you're wearing?
This old thing, just very popular. People like them. Yeah, new merch, which we should have mentioned at the start. Yeah, we've got a lot of new merch in. Have you got a new?
This is
an old jumper.
Well, it's an old jumper, but we've just got some new stock in with the Birmingham Barbell Club jumpers. The hoodies are bloody lovely as well. Very fleecy, very warm. T-shirts, hoodies, hats. Got these
buttons,
kind of headband things.
The Sonia name headband.
Yeah, cover the old forehead a bit.
Cover the 5 head a bit.
And hats, joggers.
Yeah.
Some lovely joggers. So yeah, we're stashed up. We still have our online shop as well. So if you can't get down to MSC and you want to buy some stash,
or we can post it out. So Christmas presents, perfect for your loved one.
The old post office there.
Yeah.
Get those steps in.
There you go.
Fantastic. Yeah. So thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed that podcast. I'd like to think a lot of people will get stuff from that.
I was going to say, hope you've had some good takeaways, both in terms of like your nutrition and trying to be a bit more realistic with your expectations and what you should be getting out of the month. And then also training wise, how to approach a month or a couple of weeks where it's going to be not ideal in terms of getting that same amount of work in. So you've got a couple of strategies training wise, and hopefully with the nutrition, you've got a strategy where you can still go out and enjoy yourself, have the good time with your family and friends, but still be able to limit the damage. And like I said, some people want to go completely off piece, won't they, and do what they want, and that's absolutely fine. But it's also absolutely fine if you've got a goal to work towards and you want to carry on working towards that, and you want to limit the damage. And we're happy with both. Obviously, we'd prefer people to keep working towards what they want to work towards, but
just do something.
Do something.
Go for some walks, like up those activity levels slightly to combat some of the extra calories.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Till next time.
Thanks for tuning in.